Hey, welcome back to Divinely Uninspired for episode 7. I'm excited. We got April here with us again today. Hey, April.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
I love your shirt. It's the same shirt you wear every time we do this.
That's right. Choose joy.
Do you actually choose joy?
I do. I had to choose joy today at Starbucks waiting on my coffee.
What happened?
They messed up my order.
Your PSL?
They did.
Pumpkin spice latte.
Actually, someone stole it. They didn't mess it up. They made it. Someone took it. But when I went in, it wasn't ready. So I had to wait.
That sounds about right. So, and we're always with Jeremy. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. You have a good weekend? Did you see your Packers do well?
And my Wildcats. It was a good football weekend.
Yeah, good for you. Terrible for mine.
Yeah.
My Titans lost to the Jets. First win for the Jets this season, and it's against my team. So, and then also we have with us special guest Spencer Connor. Spencer, introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Spencer.
Yeah. So Spencer is our student minister here at Journey, and we invited him to participate with us today. We're gonna have some fun with him because Spencer is quite a bit younger than the rest of us.
Yep.
And there's a lot that let's say it this way, he doesn't know what he doesn't know.
That's right.
And we like to find out exactly what those things are.
I've received a great education since I've been here on staff of all the stuff that I didn't know.
Yeah, I find your facetiousness offensive. Before we do anything else, let's get into the theme song here, and then we will have some fun. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're listening to Divinely Uninspired, podcast by Journey Church Shepherdsville, hosted by Jeremy Willis and me, Rusty Wilson. You can find us online at journeyshepherdsville.com. For questions or comments, email podcast@journeyshepherdsville.com. Maybe we'll feature your question or comment on a future episode. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show. So, Spencer, you are how old?
27.
27 years old.
Just turned 27, actually.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
What'd you get for your birthday?
I got a set of Lord of the Rings books, which I've been wanting to read for a really long time.
That's such a millennial answer.
What?
I'm surprised he knows what the Lord of the Rings are.
That's what I was going to say.
I do know what the Lord of the Rings are.
The movies came out when you were in your teens, early teens.
I think the first one came out when I was probably in first or second
Oh
grade.
my gosh.
It did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
Yeah. So you got Lord of the Rings.
Yep. I got that. I got a new camera for my birthday, a new video camera.
Oh, okay.
So
very good.
That was pretty cool.
The little thing you showed me in the beforehand. Explain it.
Yeah. It's called a DJI Pocket 2. It's a stabilizing camera. So it takes really, really good video. And
it fits literally in your pocket.
It does.
It's the smallest screen I've ever seen.
I'm surprised here because I thought it would be over the shoulder cameras because how the old stuff is coming back now. It would be the old VHS. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, my dad would hand to me you carried this for a while. It weighed 35 pounds.
They did. Yeah. And they had a suitcase to store them in.
Yes.
Yep.
Every family that was in the 70s and 80s had one of those.
Yep.
So, Spencer, we're going to have a little bit of fun with you.
Sure,
and
let's do it.
We're just going to ask you about things that we know from growing up that you don't. And this isn't an official game or whatever. It's just to give people a sense of how old the rest of us are compared to you. So
we should set the context here. This is a regular game we play in the office all the time.
Yes, true.
This is an ongoing conversation.
Yeah. And I worry a little bit that maybe we've educated you too well at this point that you're not going to know, any of these, or you're going to know all of them. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Depending on the conversations.
So, this guy passed here recently, but I loved his music, or at least I loved one of his songs. In April, I know you did too. Biz Markie passed away, and Spencer, do you know who Biz Markie is?
Nope.
Do you have what kind of music do you think Biz Markie produced?
Biz Markie?
Yeah,
I'm gonna guess hip hop, or
why would you assume that?
I don't know. It just sounds like a really hip hoppy name.
Well, you're right. It is. It is hip hop. It is hip hop, and I'm sure you understand some of his cultural significance, even though you don't know who he is, because you've heard the phrase "Oh snap! Guess what I saw."
Oh, okay, yeah.
Biz Markie coined that term in his song "Just a Friend."
Okay,
and which is a great song if you haven't heard it. It's not what you think of with hip hop, but it's a lot of fun. So Biz Markie, he just died this year, so we can mourn him. May he rest in peace.
How old was he?
in his late 40s, I think, early
Wow,
50s.
Yeah, I thought it was early 50s.
No, he
Because that
was,
song came out a long time ago.
I think it was like 91 or something.
Yeah, so I mean that's been
I wasn't even
30
born
years.
yet.
Yeah, that was pre-Spencer.
Yeah.
That's the way we're gonna do time now. It's
So if
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
30 years ago, he'd have to be older than 40s though, because then I mean he when he came out of the time he was like 16 or 15.
I think he was early 50s.
early
Okay.
50s.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably in his 20s. That makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, let's think. New Kids on the Block. Do you know who New Kids on the Block
Okay,
are?
I've heard of New Kids on the Block. I have never listened to any of their music or anything.
You're not missing anything.
Yeah.
Hanging Tough.
Yeah.
Donnie Wahlberg.
Not a fan.
You've heard
Sorry.
of the Wahlbergs, right? You know who?
Wahlburger.
What?
Yeah.
You never heard of Wahlburger?
You don't know who Mark? Do you know who Mark Wahlberg is?
I know who Mark Wahlberg is.
Okay, his brother.
Okay.
Did you know that Mark Wahlberg was a rapper before he was an actor?
Stop.
He was.
Hey, let's give him 2 guesses at what his rap name was. Go.
Yeah.
His wait. Of Mark
Wahlberg had a rap name.
He had a rap name. I don't know. Like I don't know. Like,
Think about white kid from Boston. How original do you think his name was?
what's coming to my mind is like To the Wall or like The Wall or I don't know.
Marky Mark.
Marky
Mark
and the
That's
Funky
right.
Bunch.
Heck yeah. That was the jam back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
He was a threatening individual.
They were the original boy band.
They were.
Great.
Well, I mean, I guess the Beatles were the original boy band.
I
but
mean, if you want
they
to
were
go
like
back
the
further than that,
modern era of
like the Temptations may
Yeah.
have been like the original boy band.
Love the Temptations.
I do
like
know
the
who
way
the
they
Beatles
dance.
are. And I do know who the Temptations are.
Good for you, Spencer.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
That was like the kind of music that I listened to like growing up. I listened to like a lot of Beatles, like
and Sandy Patty
and well, a little bit.
and Carmen. Did you listen to Carmen?
No, I never
Don't
listened
knock
to Carmen.
Carmen was legit.
I know.
Carmen's the worst.
Whatever.
Satan bite the dust.
Yeah, it's though the stage show of that was always kind of fun.
I'm sure it was. Yeah.
with all the
If you've
crazy
never listened
costumes.
to Satan Bite the Dust, everybody listening, just get on your phone, type in Satan Bite the Dust, and listen to it.
He
And
died too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
just thinking. Yeah, he passed away. Yeah,
This year, I think.
This year?
Early this year, I think.
I
Yeah.
remember it was like a big deal. Everyone's
Cancer
like, oh
or
my gosh,
something.
Yeah.
Carmen's dead.
Yeah, it's very sad. Somebody else throw one at him. Jeremy.
Delta Force.
That's a movie, right?
Yeah, who do you think's in it?
With Nicolas Cage.
Oh,
that's
no. Chuck Norris, man.
Oh, my
he
bad.
also Delta
What's the-
Force
what's
2
the
Don't
one-
and
even
3.
put Chuck Norris and Nicolas Cage in the same.
What's the one that Nicolas Cage is in?
Pick a terrible
Con
movie.
Air?
That's
That was
the
the
one.
only good movie he ever
That's
had.
the one I'm thinking of.
And it
I'm-
wasn't even that great of a movie. The characters around him were great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah,
Dave
Dave
Chappelle was in
Chappelle,
that.
I was thinking of Con Air, but yeah, not Delta Force.
We already did Over the Top. That was my favorite. Didn't we do Over the Top? Do you remember Over the Top?
Over the Top.
What do you think Over the Top is?
A song?
Yeah. No.
No. What's Over the Top?
It's a Sylvester Stallone movie.
Oh, okay.
About truckers and arm wrestling.
You told me
Yeah.
about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, April, your turn. Throw one at him.
Oh, gosh. I don't know.
We could probably play this game with April, though, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
we probably could.
What about Boys to Men?
I know who Boyz II Men are.
Okay.
Again, like I can know of these artists and bands. Like never listen to their music though.
Do you know who He-Man is?
No. Well, I mean, like He-Man the cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched He-Man
okay.
when I was a kid.
She-Ra. Let's not forget She-Ra.
Yeah, we can forget She-Ra.
Whatever.
Who's She-Ra? Was she on He-Man?
Oh, my gosh, Spencer.
It was like the female version of He-Man.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What about Thundercats? Do you know Thundercats?
Oh, yeah.
I know of Thundercats. Again, never watched them.
Voltron?
Like that era of like cartoons, I think came like right before I was like conscious. Like, when, like I may have been alive, but I wasn't having conscious thoughts.
Do you know Voltron?
I know he's like the skeleton dude, right? He has like a no.
That's Skeletor.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool, cool,
actually,
cool,
at
cool.
Boo at the Zoo this weekend, the lady that does all the pumpkins for like the zoo and like Iroquois Park, like the carving them, like the crazy ones. She had a pumpkin of Voltron, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's Voltron!"
Yeah.
And she was like, "You were the first person to not think that was Optimus Prime," and I'm like, "Well, it's because I'm awesome." So,
Do you know Optimus Prime?
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
Optimus
well,
Prime.
that's because of them.
did you watch the movie?
Wow, which movie?
Oh, like the original, the cartoon movie
The original-
Transformers.
when they killed Optimus Prime.
No,
It was the saddest moment of my childhood.
It was
No.
very sad.
I remember that was the first time I cried. Was when they killed Optimus Prime.
And the last time.
Yeah, well, yeah, true.
Aaron
Yeah,
made us
probably.
buy that on Amazon Prime not too long ago. We had to watch it for family movie night. It was awful.
Well, you know what? We have recently gotten into introducing our kids to the movies that we loved as little kids.
Oh, I got a good one. Gremlins.
Ooh, that was a good
yeah,
one.
I've,
You know
I've
Gremlins?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen Gremlins.
Okay.
One or two.
The first one.
Okay, can you name the main character, the main gremlin? Can you name his name?
It was a while back, so no.
What is it that they have to have that makes them turn into gremlins?
They need don't think that they need to like go to bed at a certain time. They need,
you're kind of on the right track.
I know you can never get water on them. If you get water on them, they'll
and
turn.
You can't do something after midnight.
You can't wake them up after No, I don't know.
No, you can't feed them.
Can't feed. That was it. You can't feed them after midnight, and they can never have water.
And Gizmo was awesome. Do you know who did the voice of Gizmo?
No, I don't.
Howie Mandel.
Oh,
Howie Mandel.
Bobby's World. Do you ever see Bobby's World? That was my favorite cartoon when I was a kid.
I did love Bobby's World.
No.
I feel like we could just do this for a long time.
Yeah, we better
it would be. Yeah, we could move on.
We've already done this for 10 minutes.
That would be a fun thing, though. Yeah, that was. But we do play this game a lot in the office. Like one of our favorite things is to just give Spencer like a title of a movie, and just say, "What do you think the plot is?"
Yep.
Over the Top was one of the best.
Yeah. We will play more of this in the future, and we'll actually make a real game out of it to where there are consequences when he loses.
And when you think about it, like when we talk about this stuff, like in our minds, all this stuff makes sense. But like when you like really think about it, we had messed up childhoods. Like there was a lot of weird stuff that we were exposed to. Like now you look back, you're like, that didn't make any sense that was a part of.
Well, and also incredibly inappropriate. We were watching a movie with our little girls the other day, and it was just one of those jokes that came in, and it was like, oh wow, that was dirty. That was like you don't catch it when you're a kid. But
same thing with music.
Yep.
Yeah, but I probably knew what it was by the time I was listening to that stuff.
Not me. Some of the stuff I didn't figure out till probably 5 years ago. I was like, that's in that song, and my mom let me listen to it.
Yeah, that's another game we're not going to play. What are the things that we didn't know that now we know?
An Urban Dictionary game?
Yeah. No. We would get canceled, maybe officially and unofficially. All right, so we are in October. This is the best month of the year.
Literally.
Everybody loves fall. This is a new phrase. I mean, it's not new, but it's instead of people saying, "Oh, it's Halloween season," it's spooky season.
Yep.
And I kind of hate that phrase, to be honest, because it's just stupid. Like they got. I agree. They got to go with the alliteration of the S's, but I just prefer to call it Halloween time.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever used the word spooky. Like now that I think about it, like that's just not a word I would use as normal. But ooh, that's spooky.
Man,
like
my wife and I, we use spooky all the time. Like we get excited. We're like, oh man, it's spooky season. It's just fun.
Is that all the time though? You're all the time. That's the concept.
It's like very, very often.
What would you see and say that's spooky? Like I can't think of a time I've ever used that word other than just in the sentence I
don't know. Like, and maybe this will tie into the rest of our conversation today, but like when I think of spooky, I think of like Halloween stuff that doesn't make me like lose sleep because of how scared I am. I think of like Hocus Pocus, the movie, or like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Like it's like Halloween-y, but it's not like terrifying. It's not like the show that I just finished watching on Netflix. Which was a very scary show.
So you just mentioned Hocus Pocus, and we were watching that last night, and that's one of the ones where it was like, oh, I didn't know what that meant when I was a kid, and now I do, and I see all the jokes in line with it, which is the whole like, if you don't know the movie, it's on Disney, and it's about these 3 witches that died a long time ago, and they put a curse on the area that one day they will come back because a virgin will light this candle. And the joke that plays throughout the movie is that this like 15-year-old kid who lights the candle is a virgin. And I didn't know what that meant when I was a kid, other than that Mary was also one in the Bible. And like they, at one point in time, they're trying to explain to somebody, and this guy is like, "You're a virgin?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll get it tattooed on my head." And my daughter's like, "What's that mean?" It's
Isn't the point of Hocus Pocus where it's witches that eat kids?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
Spirits.
They want to eat children, the Sanderson children.
Speaking of that, this kind of all ties together. Maybe not though, but the other day I laughed out loud for the first time in a long time I can remember. I was driving down the road and Nate Bargatze was on, who I did a joke of his on Sunday and it bombed really bad. But he talked about quicksand and talked about our childhood. He was like, I thought quicksand was gonna be a lot more of a problem than it really is. Because like every cartoon or movie had quicksand in it, and it's like as an adult you don't think about quicksand.
It's like stop, drop, and roll. I thought I was going to be on fire all the time.
All
I mean,
the time.
every year you got trained how to do stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah, and I've never once been on fire.
I feel like every time I went out to the playground in elementary school, we were all worried about quicksand. Like it was just at the forefront of my brain.
Was it spooky?
Yeah. No, that was just straight up scary. That was terror as
Well,
a
let's
child.
talk about our favorite scary stuff because this is the time of year where we talk about that, and then what the worst scary stuff is out there. So, April, what is your favorite scary thing?
I do not do scary.
April doesn't like scary.
No, I do not like
She
scary
lives
at
in
all.
Hallmark world.
My
April's-
kids want to decorate for Halloween, and I'm like, nope.
April's scariest moment is a Hallmark movie where they don't end up together and there's
That's
not
right.
puppies.
That would be
Like
very
a-
fearful.
That's an April nightmare.
I mean, we were at the end. They're just like, yeah, we're just not going to make it.
Yeah, let's just be friends.
Let's just be
Yeah.
friends.
I am more of like joy and peace and things that make me laugh and not things that make me scared to go to sleep or whatever.
So, when you were a kid, like, were you allowed to participate in Halloween?
Oh yeah. I just
Okay.
didn't, even as a kid, honestly, even way before becoming a Christian, I just never,
You were never into it.
I'm never into it. And I watched scary movies and stuff, but I thought they were really more stupid than scary. But
Yeah. So a lot of churches, they were like, they do the whole like, well, we're not going to celebrate Halloween because it's the devil's holiday, but we'll do a fall fest. We'll do a harvest fest. Or my favorite
We just
is
did a fall
when
fest.
when they do Halloween spelled backwards, Neowalla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, come dress as your favorite Bible character. I'd always go as the devil because he was
Yeah.
my favorite Bible
oh
character.
my gosh, Rusty.
We would always find weird stuff. I went as Jonah in the well one year. So we just did a cardboard box of a well and I was inside with a squirt gun. Just
That's- That's hilarious.
Yeah, we're having these conversations now at home because my middle son wants to be the Grim Reaper for Halloween. I'm not honestly sure how I feel about that. So
Let's unpack that a little bit.
yeah. I don't know. I'm you know, what's the point of being a Grim Reaper? Like, what's the purpose of it? I don't know.
To reap the dead.
There was a cartoon when I was a kid called The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Have you ever heard of this? Have you guys heard of this?
No.
These are the cartoons that I watched.
Was it written by the same people who made Superbook?
I don't know.
Hey, I like Superbook for real.
But it was this show, and the main character was this Grim Reaper, and he ended up hanging out with these two kids, Billy and Mandy. And Mandy was like this devil child who was just evil, and Billy was like this very, very goofy character, very silly. And so that was one of the shows I watched all the time. Had a Grim Reaper in it all the time.
All right, Jeremy, what was your favorite scary stuff as a kid?
I was never like scary movies don't scare me. Like the suspenseful ones, like to try to make you jump stuff. Like I've always been more fascinated with like the real scary stuff, like
Yes.
serial killers and like the real, like, I'm not afraid that vampires are going to come get me. I'm not afraid that Frankenstein's real. I'm not afraid that Freddy Krueger is going to be in my dreams or anything like that. Or like Jason was always a little bit weird because he comes out of the water and like whenever you're in deep water, you're just kind of like, but that never really scared me. But no, scary stuff for me was like the real, like, I don't know, like the weird stuff. Like we watched 2020 growing up. Remember 2020?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm
there would be
Jeremy.
all kinds of, like my parents would watch that with me as a kid and it would be like these stories of like this guy going crazy and like chopping up his family and stuff. And then be like, all right, go to bed.
Yeah, there was a show we watched when I was a kid, and I'm confident that it is the source of most of my anxiety in life. It was called Rescue 911.
Oh, yeah.
And it was always like these horrible things that happened to kids that the 911 was able to get there and resuscitate them before they went brain dead. It was just awful. It
And
was
2020, if I remember, came on after TGIF.
Yes.
So it was all these like super like positive shows.
And then
2020, we would just stay up and watch it. And then it'd be like, all right, go to sleep now. It'd be like,
2020. This week on 2020, Steve Urkel
Yeah.
is dead. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff it would be.
that's the kind of stuff
but no,
that
that's
keep
the
me
stuff
up
that
though.
scared me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just watched a horror movie yesterday, and it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's called Malignant. It's on HBO.
Ooh.
And I spoiler alert, I'm going to go ahead and just tell the plot. So if you're
Oh, that
interested,
was Hugh Jackman?
this was, I don't, there wasn't a single
All right,
famous
go ahead.
person in this one. So if you're interested in watching this movie and you don't want to know how it ends, go ahead and just fast forward a little bit. But the story is that there's this woman and she has like this, it ends up being that she's got this tumor that is alive on her at the back of her head. And it has these like terrible little arms
Ooh.
that they end up cutting off and like pushing the tumor face into her brain. And then later on it reactivates. And so they're sharing the same body, but his name is Gabriel. I don't know why, but Gabriel can come like put her into a coma and take over her body, but everything is backwards. So like runs back. Gabriel looks like she's running backwards and all that, but it goes from being like a psychological horror film in the first and second acts to the third act. All of a sudden it becomes like a kung fu movie. It's really bizarre. And
I was going to say that had to come out of like Japan or Asia because I will say this. Some of the most messed up movies I've ever seen come out of the Asian market. And I'm not trying to be, but like they, because I guess there's no like limits on some of their censorship. And so they just really do create some just messed up stuff. And like some of it I have to turn off because I'm just like, this is getting too weird, too fast.
It's made by James Wan. He's the guy that's behind the Conjuring movies. Yeah. But he's also the guy behind the Aquaman movie. And if you've seen that, like I love that movie, but it's terrible, but I love it. And that's the way I felt about this movie. Like it was good, but also terrible at the same time. So you were talking about a show that you're watching on Netflix right now.
Yeah. My wife and I, so my wife loves like really scary stuff. She loves scary movies, slasher movies, any like horror movie. I hate those things, but I'm married to her. So I like kind of have to like those things by default. Because, you know, I want to be like fair to her and kind to her. So okay, all right, babe, you know, we'll watch what you want to watch tonight.
That will pass.
That's so sweet, by the way. Keep it going, Spencer.
But every now and then she'll find like a movie or a TV show that I actually get sucked into. Not because like I'm like obsessed with the horror stuff like that. I still hate that stuff. But she's found some stuff where like the plot is amazing. And so there's been 2 series on Netflix. It's the Haunting series. So there was the Haunting of Hill House and the Haunting of Bly Manor, both made by this guy named Mike Flanagan. And they were fantastic. And so I've kind of been on a Mike Flanagan kick. So he just came out with this show called Midnight Mass on Netflix. It is wild.
Don't spoil it because I just started.
Yeah, I won't spoil it. I will give the premise though. There's this island off the mainland of the United States. It's a made up island. It's called Crockett Island, and it's this tiny like population is maybe like 130 people, and it's an old fisher town. And there's this really, really creepy church there. And like the whole thing is based around like Catholicism. And so each episode is like biblically themed, but it's a horror show and it's trippy. It's very scary. Like that's the thing that scares me. Like serial killers and stuff like that scares me too. But like, I get really freaked out about like the made up stuff. And just like the supernatural and
like made up as far as like demonic almost or
like,
just...
I mean, I'm not going to call demonic made up, but like, I mean, just stuff that you wouldn't, I hate to say normally see, but you know,
it makes sense.
Yeah. Like,
it does.
Like I remember when I was a kid, probably 6 years old, like there was a new Chucky movie coming out.
There was always a new Chucky movie.
There's like 10 of them.
Yeah. And I remember seeing the preview for Chucky, like at like 6 years old. And then I was staying overnight at my cousin's house. And they had me sleep in this room that had nothing but dolls in it.
Oh,
like
no.
just a wall full of dolls after I just watched a Chucky preview. And so like stuff like that, where it's just totally out of the ordinary, for lack of a better word, like just freaks me out.
Have you ever heard the Patton Oswalt joke about the dolls where he goes to stay at a friend's house and they have a room of dolls and it's like their extra bedroom and it's all the dolls that like when they're setting up, their eyes are open or whatever. So he says in the middle of the night, he got up because he was freaked out and just put all the dolls, laid them down to bed with him because I was really want to get their eyes to close. And so his friend woke up the next morning and Patton Oswalt's in the bed with all these dolls. I was like, that would be awesome to see. Yeah.
I love Patton Oswalt.
Hey, I got an idea for the next game we play.
All right. What is
so the next game we play, whatever it is, if April, because her t-shirt's still coming. I had to custom order it because I couldn't find one to do justice to what she has to wear.
Whatever.
So, but the next,
how much did you spend on this shirt?
No, it wasn't that much. I've got to hook up. And so, but whatever game we play next, if she loses, she has to watch Human Centipede.
Oh man.
No.
I've never even heard of it.
Don't just agree to it now.
No, I'm not agreeing to anything anymore.
No, it's in your contract.
It's not a contract.
Your employment is conditional upon this.
Whatever.
All right, so let's talk about some of the worst scary stuff out there. And I think I may have found the article for it. So this week, an article came out on Live Science or Live Science. Once again, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it's this. A group of violent otters is mysteriously attacking people and dogs in Alaska. So the premise of this is a true story. State authorities are searching for a group of violent river otters that have been mysteriously attacking adults, children, and dogs in Anchorage, Alaska. 3 otter attacks, including one which injured a child, were reported. I'm sorry. I should not laugh at that. If it was my child, I would not be laughing.
Maybe.
3 otter attacks, including one which injured a child, were reported across the city in September, leading officials from the Alaska Department of Fish and Game to ask residents to, quote, be alert around local lakes and rivers. 9-year-old Aiden Fernandez was filming 4 otters in a duck pond. Well, that's his fault. With brother when one of the animals split from its group and attacked him. He tripped and fell as he was chased, and the otter pounced on him. And he has 2 fang marks on his back thigh and 1 on the front thigh on each leg, his mother said. He had 1 puncture wound on his foot. He ended up falling as he was running away, and the otter got him on his back. Aiden was taken to the emergency room where he received a rabies vaccination and booster. 2 more attacks followed later in the month, both occurring on the same day. What in the world is going on in Anchorage, Alaska with their otters?
Wouldn't you hate to be the second guy who got attacked in the same day? Like you hear about it and then you're thinking about it all day and then bam, happens to you.
Yeah, because I love animal stories because they make me laugh. But how do you get attacked by an otter?
Yeah, that's a good one.
They
I don't
seem
know.
like I have heard that they are like in nature, like pretty vicious creatures. Like I've heard that from people, like they're really, really cute and they seem really sweet, but they'll shiv you.
Who are you having a conversation with? They're talking about otters being so vicious. I don't think I've ever had a conversation about an otter in my entire life until this moment.
Well, it's a millennial thing. We talk about otters.
I love it. Millennial thing.
Are you getting some pelts? What's going on? Are you guys trading pelts?
No,
up?
There's gonna be a Lisa Frank otter on his next Journey Students t-shirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so
They are cute creatures, though.
they are, but apparently they're violent, and they're not sure why. They think there is. So the article gets into it a little bit more, and we'll link this in the show
I don't
notes.
think there's enough otters to take over the world, but I do tell you the animal we need to be terrified of is geese.
Yes,
Geese
I was going to say
are the
geese.
worst, and we can't kill them because they're protected.
Which is so weird.
And so, but geese will go after you.
Yes.
They
They don't care about you.
Yeah, they will go
They're
after
just
you.
disrespectful.
Yeah, I hate geese. I agree. I think we should shoot them all. Sorry.
I don't know. Let me continue this article here, and you may change your mind. This isn't the first time that otters have attacked dogs in the city either. In 2 separate incidents in 2019, 2 dogs, 1 Labradoodle and a husky mix were attacked and pulled underwater by otters while swimming in lakes in Anchorage. The owner of the husky mix had to jump in after his animal to fight off the otters. Both dogs survived, but it received bites and slashes that required multiple stitches. So these otters aren't just targeting humans, they're also targeting man's best friend. I think the otters have it out for us, and this might be the worst scary thing I've ever heard.
But it's also just in Alaska.
That's true.
Yeah.
So
Geese are everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, we have otters here in Kentucky.
I mean,
Yes.
there's probably a lot of messed up stuff goes on in Alaska we just never hear about.
Yeah, it's kind of like the state that, it's not it's as much Canada as it is us.
Yeah.
Ducks are another thing that I've noticed that can be pretty mean. We have ducks at our house and we have like a pond in our backyard. There's one day I saw these two ducks fly across the pond, like targeted this other duck that was just swimming.
Oh, ducks will drown other
And
ducks.
literally like shoved this duck
Do you
under
know
the
what that
water.
is? I don't know if we can talk about this, but that's mating.
Yeah.
So there's
Vicious.
Yeah, they're vicious, and they will actually drown the female duck to try to mate with it. And they literally have to. I mean, dude, Animal World. Like I used to be. I don't have cable anymore, but when I had cable, I was obsessed with the animal shows. And there is some just messed up stuff, but that's actually what that is. And I don't want to get into all the details because I don't want to get canceled, but that's what that is. They're literally trying to mate with the female duck and they're not gentlemen about it. I'll put it that way.
Wow.
So that's what that is.
Wow.
How vicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ducks are misogynistic, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So anybody have any scary stories or experiences, things they can't explain that they want to share with the group? I know that Spencer believes that the church is haunted.
It's not just me.
It's not haunted.
It's not. I'm with Jeremy. It's Earl's made up.
I've spent more time in this building by myself than anybody else. And it's an old building. So when the heat turns on, it makes sounds. When there's nothing haunted in this building.
All right. So Spencer, go ahead.
This building is creepy though. Like for people who are listening who maybe haven't spent much time in our building, probably most people have never been upstairs. We have a whole second floor.
And a
here at
third.
Journey. And I've
Yeah.
never been on the 3rd floor.
That's because that's where the bodies are hidden.
Yeah. We did find people up there one day. Alive, not dead, but we did find people up there one time.
It's creepy up there. Like it smells weird. It smells like a really, really old furniture store, which is what it was. And it's just, there's like random walls just like standing, which were used for furniture display. And there's not a ton of light up there. It's kind of dark. And
so if you don't know, I don't know if I told everybody
huge.
this was originally a general store. The first part is 120 years old. It was a general store. And then at one point it was a hotel. And there were actually people that were murdered in the hotel.
That's what I'm saying.
Whatever.
No, that's
Is that
actually true? That's actually true. But no, it's not haunted.
I think it's haunted. Okay. There was a day me and my wife, Beth, were here. We were doing something for student ministry and there was nobody else in the building, no one here. And all of a sudden, we didn't just hear a door like shut. Cause like, I know that happens, like pressure changes like in the building and like a door will close. I'm talking like a door like slammed shut. And we were like,
you need to listen to more worship music when you're in the building.
I do.
What do you think that wards off evil spirits?
Yes, absolutely. Like, yeah, let them try me.
It was scary. We were like, yeah, we're leaving.
The voice of Chris Tomlin scares the
That's
spirits
right. You better
away.
believe it.
I don't even like going upstairs if
Point
there's
of
not.
grace. I think point of grace.
Hey, I liked Point of Grace.
Avalon.
You let little Sandy
Back in the day, I don't listen to
you
them
let
now,
little
but I
Sandy
did.
Patty in here. We're all right.
No,
Gaithers.
That Michael W. Smith synthesizer, it just gets them all out.
That's
Yeah.
right. It does. Scares them away.
Well, I've got a scary story, and this is one of those that it'll kind of lead into our next segment here. But so when I was in college, I had a professor, and he was a weird dude, but he was also very like pragmatic, and not that he didn't believe in the supernatural, but he was skeptical about all that stuff. But he told us this story about a pastor friend of his who is Haitian from Haiti, and Haiti, the voodoo religion is very prevalent there. And having lived in the Dominican Republic, we actually saw that also in the DR because there's a large Haitian population there. So he was telling this story about this pastor who came over and just had a conversation, talked about the weird things that he experienced living in a village that practiced voodoo. And he was like, well, tell me some of these stories, like what? And he said, well, we had this festival to one of the Loa, which are their gods, spirits or whatever. And he said, we had this huge bonfire. And I watched as this little girl in our village walked and just sat down in the middle of the bonfire and just like with this creepy smile on her face. And he said, and then at another one of our festivals, the local shaman, he was like praying and canting, and I watched as he floated to the top of this tree in our village and just hung there. And then he said, but the weirdest thing was one night I was sleeping and I heard sounds coming outside of my home. So I looked outside and I watched as all these different animals started walking into the village. And I watched these animals change shape from animal to human. And he said, and I even went out the next morning and I looked and I could see the footprints in the dirt. And so this professor of mine, they were driving down 71, 75 up in the Cincinnati area. And he said, you realize that you telling people that it makes you sound crazy and nobody's going to believe you here. And he says, I don't care if they believe me. I don't care if they think I'm crazy. That's what I experienced. And, the professor asked him, he's like, well, why don't we experience stuff like that in the United States? And they were driving by like a billboard for a gentleman's club. And he's like, because that's what's effective here. And it was just interesting. The notion that kind of my takeaway from it with stories like that are whether or not it actually happened physically. The belief was that this was what I experienced, and what do we do with that? So what I want to jump into is our next segment, which is what does Jeremy think?
What does Jeremy think?
So Jeremy, what do you think? Are ghosts real, or are they just demons? Are demons even a thing? And kind of the big question is, what does the Bible say about any of this stuff to begin with?
Yeah, so it's a tricky one because I think what happens is we mix the world of ghosts and demons a lot in our thinking. They kind of become one idea. As far as ghosts go, I don't think there are ghosts, but I'm not 100% sure. The Bible really doesn't address that very much, to be honest with you. There isn't a lot in there. When I saw this on the agenda, like I was even like looking, it is interesting though, not that I believe in ghosts, but one thing that is interesting is twice with Jesus, the apostles think he's a ghost. And, when he walks on the water and then when they see him after the resurrection, they think he's a ghost, and he doesn't like be like, oh, you idiots, there's no such thing as ghost. So like, it's not really definitive, if that makes sense. So I think it makes interesting conversation, but I don't actually think that there are ghosts the way, the Bible talks about the point of man wants to die and then, that type of thing. The stories we do see about the afterlife, it makes it pretty apparent that you end up somewhere, whatever that is. And there's a lot of conversation about that. Now that's one perspective. The other side of it is I also think when it comes to people that say they see certain things, there's all kinds of studies out there, not Christian studies like trying to defend it, but just secular studies about the idea of our brains being able to trick ourselves. Like if you want to see something, you can actually trick yourself into seeing it. There's studies out there that I looked into some of these that are done that the phenomenon of like, the physical and like there's actually things they can do. Like, you can't actually tickle yourself. I don't know if you know that or not. So what's fascinating is your brain tells you that it's you tickling. Now then another person comes up and tickles you in that exact same spot. And all of a sudden you're ticklish. And it's this interesting phenomenon about like our brains and the way they work with our eyes and what we're experiencing, all this stuff. But so there's all kinds of stuff out there. So like a lot of these people that, say they see certain things, you question how much of that is them. They've tricked themselves into seeing those things and wanting to believe those things. So that's the ghost side of thing. Now with the demon thing, I do believe that there's demons. I think that's something we don't talk about a lot. I took a lot of classes in college on cults and stuff like that. And then obviously, like you said in your story, I've talked to some missionaries who are not crazy people. Like, these are like sane people based in logic and reason that will tell me stories of things they've seen and experienced that I'm just like, what do you like? That's crazy. It sounds crazy to me. And I do think like that's the same thing you're talking about is that idea, like Screw Tape Letters comes to mind when you think about that like, maybe we don't need to see some of this stuff because there's other things that tempt us here in the United States, and that type of thing. So, but demons definitely, the demons are mentioned a lot in the Bible. Jesus talks a lot about demons. Jesus himself casts out demons. One of the things I think that people often, and we've talked about this before, I think, is people don't become angels and we don't become demons. Those are separate things from us, which is a whole kind of interesting conversation in of itself. But I think a lot of people think, I hate to break everybody's bad news, but we don't become angels and we also don't become demons. That's a whole different kind of realm that we are not a part of. So no, I think demons for sure. I think the other thing is, there's demon possession and then there's demon oppression, which is the idea of possession is actually where we see in the Bible where demons are actually literally living inside of someone and taking over. And then there's what we refer to as demon oppression, which would be kind of these evil forces kind of bearing down on your life. And so I think, I've met people, I'm not, I can tell you stories. I don't think I've ever met anybody that's possessed. I have definitely met people that I would say are oppressed by some type of evil force in their life. And it shows in who they are and the way they treat people and the way they respond. And, I've even been in houses, we're not Catholic, so we don't do like exorcisms and stuff like that. But I've had people invite me to go to their house and pray because they felt like dark stuff in their house. And I'm not going to say that those were definitely not ghosts because I don't believe in that necessarily. But there's been houses I've been in where like there's something, you know what I'm saying? Like there's some weird feeling there. So I don't know what that is. And this is not really a great answer because a lot of it's gonna be like, I don't know. But I definitely think, I had a professor one time in seminary talk about that. Like, if we could just pull the veil back for just a couple seconds and see everything that's going on, that we don't see, I think we might be freaked out pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what would you say to somebody because one of the popular things that people will say now is, well, back in the ancient world, demon possession often looked like somebody would go into, even says they would have seizures and cut themselves and things like that. What would you say to the person that says, well, all of that was just undiagnosed mental illness and the only way they could explain it in the ancient world was that it had to be demonic presence? What would you?
Yeah, I think that would be a hard explanation because I think both of those things probably existed. I think, and even today, I think that exists. I think that they knew people weren't right. And so they would blame it on other things. But obviously a lot of things we see, and even like we talked about earlier, like scary stuff, like serial killers and stuff, a lot of that stuff comes from mental illness that was undiagnosed or untreated or that type of thing. No, I think what we're talking about would be a difference is there are some supernatural things that people experience. There's one thing if it's just evil, if it's somebody that's evil or doing crazy stuff. But I mean, even in the Bible, I mean, one of the famous stories is the story of Legion, where it talks about like that they can't chain him down, and this is these gospel writers who, as much as we want to give the Bible a hard time, these guys based on logic and reason. Like, I mean, we'll talk about doubt here in a little bit, but I mean, this is stuff you wouldn't make up, you know what I'm saying? In my opinion. And so there's all this crazy stuff. But like I said, the biggest tell to me has been, and I have not experienced this myself, but I have some missionary friends like you who, we're not talking about mental illness. We're talking about they've seen things that can't be explained, and I think, one of the things, the reason that happens maybe in third world countries or developing countries and in other parts similar to biblical accounts is, they believed in that stuff. And so that's what devil, Satan, evil forces use. We don't really believe in that stuff around here anymore. And so, there's other ways for the evil forces to oppress us in our life and that type of thing. So, yeah. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, like I said, we can have debates about this, and at the end of the day, I don't really know. But I do think that there is, to me, a difference in those two worlds.
Yeah. Very good. Well, everybody, that was what Jeremy thought.
That's what Jeremy thought.
I will say, if I can, one quick thing though, you, cause you didn't ask this, but it is one of the things you said, what are scary stories in the Bible? To me, I think we should do this sometime. It's not so much that there's scary things in the Bible as more as there's really messed up things, like really messed up things. Like some of the scarier stuff, like there's witches in the Bible, there's demons in the Bible, there's beasts, but a lot of those, the Witch of Endor is not made up. But, in Ezekiel and Revelation, there's kind of weird stuff that takes place, but more of that's metaphors or post-apocalyptic language, and they're trying to paint images. But man, what I was thinking about this, I started doing some research, and there's so many messed up stories in the Bible that would be fascinating to have conversations about that nobody ever does.
Yeah. I would love to see a movie of some of those.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There are some crazy stories. I always heard that if the Bible were a film, it would be rated NC-17.
Yeah.
So, cause it has got some crazy stuff in there. You're right. All right. So, real quick before we go into our main topic, we're just going to talk a little bit about what's going on here at Journey, what has been going on. We had our Fall Fest that we've been plugging and promoing for weeks. It was this past Thursday. It was a huge success. April, how many people do you think were there?
Oh, I would say over 2,000.
Yeah. It seemed really busy. It was a lot of people.
I was going to say 1.5 million.
That's a stretch, Jeremy.
If that's what you believe in your heart, that's fine.
That's what I believe.
The whole city of Louisville showed up.
Yeah, the whole metropolitan area. All right, so it was great. We had a lot of people come through, awesome vendors, awesome food trucks, some inflatables, no injuries. So it was a success, and we look forward to doing it again next year. This coming Sunday, the 10th, that's October 10th, Journey is celebrating its 11th birthday. So it's the 11th anniversary. We're excited about that. We're going to have some cupcakes and some cookies there for you. So when you show up, if you come in person on Sunday, just know that we're going to be celebrating just a little bit here because Jeremy, what's the stat on most church plants? How long they last?
It depends on what you look at. I mean, most of them, they say within the first 3 years, I think it's like 50% don't make it. And then if they make it past year 3, year 6, I mean, there's all these different things. I mean, essentially at the end of the day, about 40% of churches that are planted don't make it. And now what they're finding is actually past year 10, because a lot of times what happens is the founding pastor leaves or whatever, that there's this huge decline now where a bunch of these churches. So statistically, the fact that we're still here is amazing. And the fact that we're still just here because we've done a lot of crazy stuff is kind of amazing.
That's true.
Yeah. We hired April and that hasn't.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That's helped you. Just
brought in a whole new demographic.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Brought in your Pentecostal side.
Very good. So that's this Sunday. Journey is turning 11. And then we brought Spencer in to talk a little bit about a pretty big event that he's got going this October called Monster Bash. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, Spencer?
Yeah. Monster Bash, it's one of my favorite things to do all year. What I tell people all the time is that it is the second largest thing that our student ministry does all year next to camp. So obviously, if you're around any youth group for any amount of time, camp is it's like the Olympics for student ministry. But Monster Bash is the second largest thing we do all year. When I came into Journey probably 2.5 years ago, I've been here 2.5 years, April.
I know. It's awesome.
Me and my wife, we were trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do for fall? We don't want to just do like, have a little Halloween tablecloth with candy and, all that stuff. We were like, no, like we want to do something that kids are loving, that teenagers love, and they love Halloween. They love getting to go trick or treat and dress up in a costume and do all that. And so like, man, let's throw a giant Halloween party. And that's what Monster Bash is. It's just a Halloween party. I don't know how much y'all talked about this on the podcast, but I'm a big fan of, in the church, not ignoring, the secular. Paul tells us to, be in the world, but not of the world. We can live in the world and enjoy things just like people who don't go to church, do. And I don't think, Halloween is an evil thing. I know that's a popular train of thought a lot of times that Halloween is evil. And, certainly, I don't know if we were planning on talking about this, but there are things tied to Halloween, that happened a long time ago that I'm not okay with. But the way we celebrate Halloween nowadays, I mean, you walk around, you get candy, and you dress up in a costume. That's fun. And so we do a big Halloween party every single year called Monster Bash. It's happening October 30th here at Journey, and I tell students that it's crazy. We have a lot of fun. We decorate to the nines, do a big costume contest. Somebody always ends up getting slimed at the end of the night. I got slimed the first year, and let me tell you, vanilla pudding, oatmeal, and a bunch of other stuff to make slime. It goes everywhere.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my boys, I will say too, just to, reiterate what Spencer's saying, like they love Monster Bash. Like in my house, they start thinking about costumes, come June. So, and Benji actually said to me last night, you're not allowed to say anything about Christmas until after Monster Bash.
Yeah.
So
that should be a law because they've already got Christmas stuff out at a lot of your stores.
all for it.
I went to Hobby Lobby the other day, and of course they have like their fall stuff out, but it's like much smaller than like the gigantic Christmas section.
Team Christmas.
Well, I just saw the other day though that they said that annually more people spend more money on Halloween than they do on Christmas. Like for sort of decorations.
I believe that. Yeah.
I don't. I think that's a
Decorating
lie.
for Halloween is the most fun.
It is so much fun.
I don't have a problem with Halloween. The holiday that I think we should just get rid of is Valentine's Day.
Whatever.
I mean, we are literally, think about Cupid. We are literally like, that is, if you study Cupid and what it was, and then there's a lot of people got killed. Valentine's Day massacre.
Don't say that. I like
right.
that. I get
he
to
shot him with arrows.
And it's just a whole industry created by Hallmark, which as
That's right.
we know is one of the most evil capitalistic companies
and
that's
it's
ever
my
existed.
excuse to ask Aaron to buy me something else. So don't get rid of Valentine's Day.
You need an excuse to ask him to buy you
Well, not
something.
really, but it makes him feel, I think, makes me feel
Here's
a
a
bit
card
better.
of something somebody else wrote. I'll sign my name to it.
That was a
I'm
good
gonna
Aaron
smack him.
impression.
That was a good Aaron impression.
I'll sign my name to it.
So
But,
Spencer, with Monster Bash, when is that?
Yeah, so it's happening October 30th. We're really excited because Halloween actually falls on a Sunday. So we'll be having Journey Church Sunday service on Halloween. So I told the students, I was like, we can throw a Monster Bash after party and students that Sunday. But it'll be October 30th from 6 o'clock to 8:30. And it'll be a ton of fun.
Ooh, we should encourage people to dress up and
That's what I'm telling students to do on the
come in
31st.
come in your costume.
As their favorite Bible character, though.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna have like 500 devils.
I want a favorite Bible character.
Jeremy needs to.
Ooh, we should do the podcast of messed up stuff the week before, and then they have to pick which of those messed up stories I'm going to tell them from the Bible to dress up as.
Are you gonna do King Eglon? That's one
Oh
of my
man, there's
favorites.
some good ones.
Yep.
Fat Jehoshaphat.
That yes.
Jeremy should resurrect his Jonah and the Whale costume from when he was a kid.
Oh, that would be
I don't think
wonderful.
I'd fit it anymore.
Just make a new one.
Yeah.
So Spencer, is that free for students? Is there a cost?
It's $10.
What does that cover?
$10 covers, it helps us with our decorations. It helps us with candy and food and stuff like that. We go all out. We bring in inflatable jousts. We're looking at like a video game truck this year. So there's a lot that you get for the cost of $10. I'm trying to figure out if we can do like a custom t-shirt, like press at Monster Bash, so that would cover the cost of like a t-shirt for a student they could walk away with.
Would it feature a violent otter?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. In what
In
is
Lisa
it?
Frank colors.
In Lisa Frank colors.
Yes.
Yeah. Violent otter biting a child on the leg. Yeah.
I love it. Very good. So Monster Bash, if you want more questions about that or want more information about that.
If you want more questions about that.
Yeah, sorry.
If you want to send more questions about
If you have more questions or you want more information, you can reach out to Spencer at journeyshepardsville.com, or you can Facebook him or Instagram him or TikTok him or Snapchat him.
I think the correct phrase is DM me, direct message me.
Slide into his DMs.
Yeah, slide into my DMs on Instagram.
There you go. That's what the millennials are doing.
What did you do the other day?
What?
When Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat were down for like 4 hours. Did you go crazy?
No, I read actually.
Yeah, it was the best thing ever.
I was reading The Hobbit.
That should be the thing. Facebook should. I would support it if for like once a month for just 10 hours
Everything
they
just
shut
went down
on purpose so that people had to do something else.
You want to
People
talk
would
about
be a lot happier.
the worst scary stuff? I saw an article, an opinion piece that a company said, or an editorial columnist said that we should grant Facebook and Amazon seats on the United Nations. And you want to talk about the worst scary stuff is giving those groups any more power.
Speaking of that, I know
totally
me and Rusty are big Twitter fans. I don't think a lot of people under our
I
age
try
are.
getting into Twitter.
But the other day, I don't know if you saw Twitter tweeted when Facebook went down.
Yeah,
and
it
it
was
said,
hilarious.
"Hello, everyone. We're
Yes.
here." Yeah, we're here. And then McDonald's. Did you see McDonald's? Tweeted
No.
them back and said the audacity, and Twitter texted them back. Don't you have some ice cream machines to be fixing? I was like, that's awesome. Whoever's owned that account, man, those accounts are pretty funny.
Have you
They
guys
are.
followed the Wendy's?
Yeah,
account?
Wendy's is the best.
Wendy's
good.
is hilarious.
Yeah, Wendy's is good.
They are. All right, so let's get into our main topic for the day, which is really it's all about doubt, and I think that ties in nicely to kind of what we've been talking about the rest of this cast here. But Jeremy, you talked all about how we shouldn't be afraid of doubt, and that doubt can actually be good for us. And so I just kind of wanted you to unpack a little bit more on that. And you also kind of mentioned that you have experienced doubt before. And so for the person who's listening to this, who maybe didn't hear your message on Sunday or is wrestling with doubt right now, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that doubt is naturally a part of it. And I think, I always tell people, I'm not scared of doubt. I'm not scared of people's doubts. I'm not scared of my doubts. I think the thing that terrifies me is the people that say they never doubt any of this stuff. And I think it's important for people that see what I do for a living for me to admit that I have doubts and things. Because I think everybody does. And I think, people are always like, well, I've got all these questions and, I've been afraid to ask them. And I'm like, man, I got so many more questions that would terrify you if I told you my questions, and I think it's just part of it is it's just that journey. We're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to do the best we can with the information we can. It can be confusing. It can be hard. I mean, we joked about the demons and, ghost stuff, but I mean, there's some messed up stuff in the Bible that's hard to process and figure out what to do with. And so I think it's just important that we give people permission to ask those questions. I think it's really important because see what happened in my opinion is, people my age and people your all's age and, not Spencer's age as much, but we grew up without the internet. And so, we had all these questions and, we never got really good answers for them. I remember in high school asking in my mind were really good questions and just getting bad answers, and that really sent me on a spiral, to be honest with you, of just being like, that can't be the answer. Like, and I don't blame my Sunday school teacher because they didn't know either because they were never taught this stuff. And so I think that's important because I think we have a whole generation now that have the internet and we have adults that have the internet. And so they can Google stuff and they can find out, I love the Andy Stanley quote is you can know what's in the Bible without ever opening up a Bible. And, we have more information and access to information than ever before. And there is so much confusing stuff that I think it's really important that we give people permission and space to question that stuff, to have those honest conversations about all kinds of things when it comes to faith and doubt, and that we as ministers, that we as even just friends are willing to listen with them. And I think the other thing that's really important to me that I always talk about is people will ask me questions all the time. And I used to be really uncomfortable with it, but I just don't know sometimes. I mean, you've heard me say twice today on the podcast, I just don't know. I honestly, that's above my pay grade, and I think that that's okay too. It's just to acknowledge that, to allow people to ask those questions and do it. I think one of the things that stuck with me, it's one of my favorite verses in the Bible, but it's in Matthew chapter 26 or 27, but it's right before the Great Commission, which we all know. But literally the verse before the Great Commission said they all saw Jesus on the mountain, and some believed and some doubted. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, you just saw a resurrected Jesus, and some of these people are doubting. And so if those people are doubting, then that gives us permission to doubt as well, and to be willing to kind of ask those questions and that type of thing. So I think it's just really important for all of us to acknowledge that and to work through that. Yeah.
And I don't think doubt is something that we should fear, even though it is really scary to be in the midst of it. In 2017, I was just in a really dark place. I had come back from the mission field, didn't want to be back from the mission field rather. And I just found myself asking these really hard questions that scared me of, do I actually believe this stuff? And I really dove in, and there was a period of time, it wasn't where I was faking it, but I was having to choose to believe, even though there was parts of my brain saying, you know that you don't think this is true. And so the more I dug in, actually, the more I found myself being okay with my previously held beliefs evolving into different beliefs, still believing in the essentials of my faith, but coming to grips and coming to terms with the fact that, we've often been led to believe in the church that there's just on a multitude of topics, there's only one correct way to think about these things. And that's a false choice, that you don't have to, like, for example, where I got really hung up on Genesis 1 through 11.
Yeah.
Which
everybody does.
Yeah. And that was, for me, it was just like, I cannot ignore the science that I have seen. So what do I do with this? And so I really dug in, and, I actually walked away stronger in my faith, even though it was from a new position. And, it's one of those that Jeremy's right, that we all experience it. There's not like some magic thing in those of us who are in, full-time ministry, that we just don't suffer it. And we do. We experience it a lot, and we need to be willing to have those places where we can ask those hard questions and maybe have difficult answers.
Well, I think that's one of the keys is we talked about, earlier kind of messing with Spencer, in fun, but just like our childhoods and things we were exposed to. And I think that what's so scary to so many people is letting go of that childhood faith and that childhood God that they believed in. But also maybe even bigger is what their parents taught them and their grandparents taught them. And I mean, I have people all the time, we'll talk through, I'm just gonna be real honest. We'll talk through things and they'll be like, well, growing up, my pastor said, and I'll be like, well, to be honest with you, your pastor didn't give you a good answer, and didn't maybe think through this and think about what he was saying and how it would affect you, and that's where, it can really mess. And that's why I think it's so important we don't make answers up with our kids. When they ask questions, don't make it up. Don't say, well, the Bible says. Well, the Bible says a whole lot of other stuff if we want to get into that we don't ever talk about. And so don't use that as an answer, be open to those questions, and if you don't know, and I think what you said is really good about the Genesis thing, but what I've often found is there's so many things in the Bible I don't have answers to. And now that I've gotten okay with that, my faith has actually grown more that I don't have to try to explain it.
Right.
And I think the mistake we make sometimes is trying to explain it all. And when you think you can explain everything, you're now putting yourself on the same parallel as God, which we were never intended to be able to do that, to accomplish that, to achieve that, and I think that that's really important for us to acknowledge. There's just certain things we're not going to understand and know, and that's okay. And my faith has become stronger now that I'm willing to acknowledge that.
Yeah. And I think that having to come to terms with the fact that I'm not going to know the answer to this, when literally the answer to almost all of life's questions are at our fingertips, with, like you mentioned, having access to the internet. Yeah. I mean, there's not much that we can't go and find out answers to for the physical world, at least. But wrestling with the spiritual, it can be really challenging and really scary. April, what are your thoughts about doubt?
Doubt for me was probably one of the biggest blessings disguised, because I went through it, I guess, around 2008. My best friend had lost her husband to a drug addiction. We had been praying for him. And I don't want to knock the way anyone believes or worships, but I kind of come from a Pentecostal background. And so it was kind of the name and claim it. You tithe, you fast, you pray, you do all of this. God answers all your prayers kind of thing. And I was in a real deep depression, and I had never been someone who had experienced that before. And so you just start to ask questions like, if I'm doing all these things and I'm still going through this, then where is God? And so that was kind of vague at first, but then going back to what you said, like reading the Bible in Genesis, and you're like, okay, well, wait a minute. This account can't be literal the way I think it's literal because of this or whatever. You really just start to, question that. But I read a lot of great books. I came across Philip Yancey, Reaching for the Invisible God, which was a life-changing book for me. And I think he had another one, Disappointment with God, to really just kind of unlearn what I was taught and then relearn it, if that makes sense, differently. So yeah, doubt for me, going back to what Jeremy said, I love it. Like if you're comfortable saying, I don't have the answers. And I remember literally like sitting on the couch, like, okay, I don't know how to answer this for sure, but I can't deny what happened at my conversion. With me, I can't deny that or give that up. And I'm just going to choose to believe and grow from there. So
Spencer, what about you?
Yeah. So doubt, for me, just being honest with you guys, was actually pretty recent. Doubt was, so I come from a Southern Baptist background. I went to a Southern Baptist college, and I received a phenomenal biblical education there. I cannot knock, the education that I received, but not so much with my professors, but with a bunch of my peers. Doubt was kind of an enemy. Doubt was something that was to be attacked, that was to be defeated through the explanation of Scripture. I'm not going to say that people I went to school with were name it and claim it by any means or anything like that. It was more the strict fundamental Baptist side of there is an answer for it in Scripture. If I study it enough. If I exegete it enough, if I do whatever enough, I will find an answer that will make sense of all of this. It was a very literalistic interpretation of everything. And so to have faith essentially was to go to Scripture and basically defeat your doubts. Just kind of sock them in the jaw and knock them out. And so quite honestly, it wasn't until I got here to Journey that I was introduced to the idea of doubt sort of being a friend to you, and getting comfortable in the grace of God that tells you like, it's okay to not know. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to realize that you as a pastor, you're a person just like anyone else. And I remember sitting in Jeremy's office a couple of times talking with him, and I had questions, just just trying to grow and just trying to learn. And I remember walking. I don't know if I told you this, Jeremy, but like walking away, and I didn't tell you this, but like frustrated. Mm-hmm. Like I would sit down with Jeremy, and Jeremy would be like, "I don't know," and I'd just be like, "How can you not know?" But the more that happened and the more conversations we had, like what I've grown to learn is like, man, Paul doubted, mm-hmm. Peter doubted. There was even a brief moment when Jesus struggled, with doubt.
His own brother doubted.
and so it's just kind of getting comfortable with this idea that, man, we're all human. We're all just trying to work it out. Like you said, Jeremy, with the information that we have, and learning that the answer of, well, just believe, or, just kind of faith your way through it and all this stuff, isn't really sufficient. I mean, Jeremy, you were talking about when you were growing up, like you had these questions and you didn't have the internet. And so you would go and not get good answers. The perspective I'm coming from now as a student minister to the next generation, I have students, they have answers because they have Google, they have the internet, they have these answers. So it's not, hey, will you tell me the answer? It's, hey, will you help me sort through the 50 different answers that I've just found on Google? when I've taken a break from playing video games, you know. And so that's difficult as well, because you're not coming into the conversation, I guess, blindly. You're coming into the conversation where they've already done their research, and they, you know, if you don't think this, believe me, they are doing their research. They are asking these questions on Google and whatever devices they have, and so that adds a different layer. And so I think, you know, it is beneficial to the next generation to say, you know, I've asked these questions too. I've done the Google search as well. I've researched it to the best of my ability. Here's what I know the Bible says. I know that can be confusing, and ultimately, I'm at a place right now where I don't know, and I'm still searching. And I think if more people can get more comfortable there, they'll end up in a lot less fights and probably end up with a lot less stress. So.
Yeah. Well, I think the takeaway here is, if you're struggling with doubt, you're not alone, and don't be afraid of it. Don't view it as something that has to be defeated, but something that you can grow through and grow with. But that's all that we have for today. We are going to be back in a couple of weeks with some more spooky stuff, Spencer.
Yeah.
We'll have you back on. You did a great job today. Thanks for being here.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. We will see you soon, or I guess you'll hear us soon. We don't know when we'll see you.